All right, folks, good afternoon. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis here with you alongside meteorologist Evan Stewart. Evan, we have had a very active last couple of days.
Yes, we have. It's been a busy couple of days.
It sure has. You know, one of the biggest snowstorms we've seen in this region in years, and it's really something that we go through two and a half full winters, right?
Right.
Of no snow. We were in one of the second longest snow drought on record here in Norfolk, and then we have this winter. Right,
yeah.
That just kind of blew away several past winters overall. I want to ask you, do you think it's worth it to go through a long snow drought to get a nice snow like this?
I do. I think so. You know, this is why a lot of times the Norfolk average snowfall, I think right now it's 6 inches. And that's what happens is we'll have a big snowstorm and then we'll go several years without any snow. So these big snowstorms sort of skew the average. But we had a big one in 2018 and then 2010. So every few years we see something like this.
It's kind of worth the wait, and it really performed well. And I want to speak to a little bit about, the models have gotten so good over the last just even the last couple of years, really improved in their accuracy and being able to kind of pick up on nuances in the long range and really kind of play them out nicely as we get closer and closer to the actual onset of the event. And this one is a great example of that because the GFS and the European, which are longer range, and the Canadian too, did see this 8-9 days out, had the signal of a pretty substantial storm along the eastern seaboard. How exactly it would evolve was still kind of a lot of variables in play. But man, once we got within like 5 or 6 days, it really started to amplify, and we were like, this may be a doozy coming on in.
Yeah, when I started in the business, the long range models were 5 days.
Yeah.
And we didn't give 7-day forecasts. I remember 4-day forecasts, and then we went to 5 and now 7. And we might not know the specifics of what's happening a week in advance, but those signs are there, and the models, they're getting so much better at picking up on that.
Yeah, check out. So let's start off here with the 36-hour loop of satellite and radar to kind of walk you through what we went through. We all went through it together, right? We had a big snowstorm across the area that started off yesterday around midday, and we had talked about the onset of the snow happening late morning to around lunchtime. And that's exactly how it really played on out there. You can see the waves of heavy snow that eventually developed and moved on through the area. I'll stop it right here of when the snow started to break out. Here we are 9 in the morning, we were clear, and then we started to see the radar really begin to fill on in. And what was happening was the actual area of low pressure, or coastal low, hit the coastline of the Carolinas. There was an energy transfer from a low-pressure system that tracked across the country that pushed into an intense deepening off the coast of North and South Carolina, and that allowed the radar to really fill on in. And the rain, or the snowfall rates, began to really intensify, and you can see the deep shades of blue there that were persistent for hours. I mean, here we are past midnight last night. It was still snowing heavily across, especially areas in Southside off to the east and along the northeastern North Carolina. And it wasn't until 3 a.m. that all the snow was gone. And then we had a little lull. We had talked about this being a kind of a two-part system.
Right.
The upper level feature, the upper level energy that was lagging behind to the north and west, hit the mountains and then dropped to the southeast. Now, I think this also helped to kind of fire off a surface low, a lee side low on the eastern side of the mountains that actually enhanced this band of snow that moved across, portions of central southern Virginia and over into central eastern North Carolina and put down ½ an inch in some spots. And we saw a nice little burst here. You can see there right around lunchtime today.
Yeah, and I want to take a look at some of the cameras, or some of our Skyview cameras that we're seeing out there. This is up in Hampton at the Virginia Air and Space Center, and you can see some of the snow that is out there. But I've been watching some of our Nauticus cameras, and those Nauticus cameras have really been showing some of that blowing wind that we've been seeing out there as well. Here's one of our Nauticus cameras looking, this is up towards the Elizabeth River. This is on the south side of Nauticus. This is on the north side. And notice there at the bottom, you can see that snow that is just blowing off of the building there of Nauticus and over towards the cruise terminal. So we've been seeing that quite a bit as we have gone here through the day. So there will be some of that blowing snow out there. But the main thing that we're watching is the snow is just starting to come to an end, Tim.
Yeah, radar still has a little bit of some flurry activity, Evan. As we get down into northeastern North Carolina, you can see a little bit of an indication there of a light flurry or so. We're not expecting anything more in terms of additional accumulations across the majority of the area. So that's the good news there. Still a few more flurries as you get off towards the west of I-95, a few flurries out in Chesterfield County south of Richmond. that's really been about it. But we go back in time, there is that band, and notice as we go back here, a little loop, the really intense kind of band of snow. There was moderate snow. It wasn't as heavy as it was yesterday. But that came on through. We had a burst of that snow around lunchtime, and then it moved on through. But overall, Evan, let's go full screen on this and show you just the snowfall totals that were very impressive all across the area. Off to the north, so we had a general forecast of 6 to 10 inches with a caveat that we could see up to a foot. And boy, did that play out, Evan. We've got even areas off to the north, up in the peninsulas, getting over a half foot of snow there. You see areas out near James City County, Williamsburg area, 6.5, 7. Even a reading there as you get farther southeast along 64 of over 9 inches. Newport News, Poquoson over to Hampton, around 10 inches. And look at Northampton County along the eastern shore. 7 inches out near Exmoor, 10.5 as you got further south, just north of Cape Charles. So just a big thump of snow out there as well overnight and into early this morning. And then down to the south, this is where the bullseye was in Southside and in portions of northeastern North Carolina. Look at all of these readings that are in the double digits. North Central Virginia Beach, 10, 10.5, 11.5, a foot of snow. You see Central Virginia Beach there, well south of Oceana, 12.3 inches. Down to Pungo, around 11 inches, and even Central Chesapeake. Great Bridge area, Deep Creek, 12.5 inches, 10.5, so significant snow, Evan.
Yeah, and we didn't see as much down across North Carolina. We had mentioned that we would start to see that mixing coming in, and we did see a little bit of accumulation in areas along the Outer Banks before the rain came in, but right along the state line, though, we still saw some significant accumulations, like 11 inches around Moyock.
Yeah, there was a period of time, probably like mid-afternoon yesterday, where there was the sleet, and we were watching on our precip detector on radar, and there was a significant period of sleeting out by Elizabeth City. We had our Brianna Fallon down there reporting it live, showing us that there was some sleet. So that worked to kind of reduce and compress some of the snow totals, but it did transition back over to a period of accumulating snow, and still those areas you see off to the south here did end up picking up a half a foot of snow easily after all was said and done here. Even northern portions there, notice right around the state line, 11 inches.
That's right, and the one thing that's kind of stood out is she was down there in Elizabeth City. She was making great snowballs. But then we had Shane, who was up in Hampton, where it was a lighter, fluffier snow because the air was drier, and he couldn't make a snowball because it just wasn't moist enough to cause the snow to stick together. Yeah,
the snow consistency from north to south, the moisture content was drastically different. And air temperatures area-wide were in the 20s. It was an odd setup because usually we're hovering around that freezing mark, right? And we get that wetter snow, and then you maybe get the transition rain off to the south, but mainly cold enough everywhere in the mid-20s. Now, it was what was happening up in the mid-levels of the atmosphere where we had that sleet mixing on in it. That's always probably, during a snow event, the hardest thing. It's almost impossible, actually, to pinpoint where that will happen. Models tried to, indicate that, but they were a little bit off, but just a cautionary tale that every time we have a snow event, we just have to put that in the forecast.
Right, especially, now that we're in February, the water temperature is a little bit colder than like December or even early January. But a lot of times with these storms, we get that wind coming in off the water, and that'll bring in that warm nose, and sometimes at the surface, sometimes in the middle parts of the atmosphere, that changes the snow over to rain. And that was something Jeff Lawson and I used to talk about. The worst things that you could ever have was a snowstorm that changes into a rainstorm.
Yeah, the worst. Nothing worse than a 33-degree rain.
Yeah, that's right.
I tell you. So let's go back over to the south side here and just look a little bit more at some of these totals so you can kind of take it all in. North central Suffolk, out by Bennett's Creek, 8.5 inches, 10.5 inches. Portsmouth, Western Branch, up to a foot. Officially out at the airport. In fact, let's get to that. Over at the airport, check this out. 11 inches at Norfolk International, and that is significant because now yesterday's storm is going to live forever in the record books. It was the 8th largest all-time record daily snowfalls, 11 inches at the airport. And then the 9th largest all-time record event. And that's since 1890. I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, technically 10.2 before midnight. The midnight to midnight was that number 8. But yeah, and we might have picked up another 1/10 of an inch with some of that snow that came through. But yeah, this certainly is starting to get up there with some of our biggest snows. It doesn't crack us into the top 5, which would be like the Circus Blizzard of 1980, that big snow that came in 2010 after Christmas. But yeah, we cracked the top 10. So this isn't an insignificant
Right.
snowstorm by any stretch of the imagination.
Right, now that the snow is all gone, we do want to let you know that we are extending our weather impact alert to go through tomorrow morning, because what happened today, VDOT crews, city crews were out all day clearing the roads, and a lot of roads are now passable. It's still the neighborhood streets and all those types of things that are still going to remain snow covered, but the intermediate main roads are now pretty wet.
Right.
And even though air temperatures today didn't really rise above the freezing mark, in fact they didn't, but we had some sunshine this time of the year. That higher sun angle will work to kind of melt some snow and sublimate it and melt it away. But tonight, with temperatures diving, fresh snowpack, clear sky, we're down into the upper teens air temperatures, but we've got a breeze too, so that means we're going to have our wind chill values in the single digits. So our weather impact alert through tomorrow morning, through daybreak, and we've got icy roads, the refreezing aspect of this on roads and sidewalks, so very, very slippery out there. What looks wet will likely be some black ice, so exercise caution. And on top of that, we're going to have the really, really cold temperatures. So I want to walk you through Futurecast here. Here we are this afternoon. Any flurries out there gone over the next few hours, and notice air temperatures really start to dive, especially interior spots where you have a thicker snowpack. Minus like 3, 4, 5 degrees from what you're seeing on there. That snowpack helps to really bring down ground temperatures in the overnight that we've seen in past occurrences. Models just don't usually have a very good hold on that. But models here by 6 a.m. showing 20 in Norfolk. We're going 18. Interior spots, low to middle teens. However, the wind chills are going to be significantly lower than that. Evan, by tomorrow morning or even overnight tonight, look where we are by midnight.
Yeah, wind chills down into the single digits. And talking about even those temperatures in the teens, when I think about the brine solution they put on the roads, that's good to about 25 degrees. It lowers the freezing point. Salt lowers the freezing point of water to about 25 from 32. But when you're talking about temperatures in the teens, then even the brine solution doesn't always do the best job. It put a little bit of sand out there to help you with the traction. And it's the roads that didn't get totally plowed, where people have driven over them, compacted the snow, and
Ice rink.
yeah, and that's really going to be the issues. I think, as Tim and I both left last night. I left a little after midnight. You left after 1 a.m. And the interstates were, they were decent, but by this morning when I came in and you came in this afternoon, interstates were in great shape.
Right, they were just a little bit wet in some spots,
Yeah.
but that's going to be the main thing, the black ice, any slush out there on the side roads, as you mentioned, everything being compacted, it's going to be frozen solid out there. So if you have the opportunity to get out and shovel that path out along your driveway, you don't have to shovel the whole driveway because that's a lot, but just make sure you have a path, because all of that's going to be a lot harder to remove tomorrow after a deep freeze tonight.
Now, I wanted to talk a little bit, people ask, well, why doesn't the city come in and plow the residential streets? Now, you have a story from when you were a kid about a mailbox.
Oh
right?
my gosh!
Yes.
So I grew up in Connecticut, and we of course had many winter storms every season, and we lived on a cul-de-sac. The city plow would come on through, and it would take out probably each storm 2 or 3 mailboxes
Right.
on that one street. And we lost our mailbox so many times that my father developed a shield thing that he built
Right.
to try to block it, and still it would get taken out. So we probably replaced our mailbox like 3 or 4 times, and of course the city doesn't want to pay for that.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
And that's why, they don't get down some of these neighborhood streets. You think of downtown Norfolk, and you've got all the you have
Right,
street side parking. So, people have to move their cars once a month for the street cleaners. But, they can't get the big snow plows
Yeah, a
down
lot
some
of
of these
liability
older
for
city
that,
streets
too.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's going to be a little while before any of this snow really melts off. And we'll share the 7-day with you at the end of this to kind of give you a feel for when that may happen. We do have 60s in the forecast by next week, so there will be melting on the way, but not for the next couple of days. So here we are back at our wind chills by midnight tonight, feeling like the single digits. And it looks like most schools are closed again for the 3rd day in a row tomorrow. So not too concerned with kids at the bus stop or anything like that. But look at what it will feel like tomorrow morning as we get towards the wind chill values by 6 a.m. It's going to be down in the single digits. Elizabeth City down to 4 potentially, 5 in Chesapeake.
Yeah, and that's when people are, your dogs are still on a schedule, so you still had to take the dogs out if you can get them out in some of the snow. Now, I did want to, what did Finley think of this?
Oh, so this is like his first real snow. We had a month ago, but we ended up like with 2 inches where I live. So this is like the deep snow he can like frolic through.
Yeah.
And he's getting the snow zoomies and he's loving it.
Yeah.
And then his sister Savannah is just right behind him, running around in the snow as well. So it's enjoyable. A lot of folks have shared their dog photos,
Right,
their
yeah.
their maybe baby's first snow or anything like that. It's just a lot of fun. You got to enjoy
It is, yeah, but like you said, tomorrow morning it is
Mhm.
going to be cold,
It is.
as you take the dog out for the walk in the morning.
Yeah, so there's a look at those wind chills, and by 8, 9 o'clock, they start to come back up a little bit as temperatures will begin to rebound. But we do have a cold weather advisory, and that's for the wind chill value to dip as low as 5 degrees, as you saw Futurecast modeling getting a good handle on. This goes until 10 a.m. tomorrow. After that, wind chill is still going to be cold, but they should warm at least a little bit. We are expecting temperatures tomorrow afternoon to make it above the freezing mark. We're going for 37, so there will be some melting going on, but that weather impact alert through around 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Right, and there are those northwest winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now, the sun tomorrow will serve to melt some of the snow a little more than certainly what we're seeing today, but then we might have another issue again tomorrow night.
Yeah, we've got like the next three overnights dipping well below the freezing mark, so any melting that occurs each afternoon, we're going to have that refreeze cycle playing on out for most of the area until we get rid of that snow. Let's look at some temperature trends here that we've got coming our way. Look at the long range here, next 10 days, okay? So we've got significant warming coming. Now, not significant from where we've been,
Right.
because we should be in the mid-50s. The average this time of the year is 54. And the last couple of days, we have not been anywhere close to that, even though we started off February quite mild.
We did, yes.
The big change from what we had in January, which was very, very cold. So at least the first half of February was a bit of a break, but 60 back in the forecast.
Yeah, and I know that'll get rid of a lot of this snow, but I'm even thinking that there will be quite a few churches on Sunday,
Yeah.
that probably will have some canceled services, especially if you're going to be out early Sunday morning, because even this weekend, 39 on Saturday, that will get rid of some of the snow, but especially in areas that they have plowed and then the snow is piled up, you've got churches still have to get crews out there to clean off the sidewalks, clean off the parking lots.
That's a good
And,
point.
a lot of those folks are probably, I know the city's contract with some of those folks to help clear the roadways, and you've got apartment complexes and shopping centers and stuff. So I think we'll still have some issues even into Sunday.
And this is going to be one of those situations where you saw Madison last night doing our live shots from the Walmart parking lot. Any area that's got a huge parking lot, they have to remove all that snow, and a lot of times they'll find a centralized location, or maybe in the back corner where they'll dump all the snow.
Right.
And you'll have a snow mountain there. This is going to be one of those snow mountains that's probably going to be around for a month at least,
Right.
until we get those temperatures to really warm up, and it's just going to take a long time for it to finally melt away. Here's a live look at radar here as we are closing in on 3:30 in the afternoon. Still some snow flurries evident out in the southern portions of our northeastern North Carolina cities and counties. This is not going to develop into anything that's going to accumulate. Just some aesthetic flurries coming on through the late afternoon air. Off to the northwest along I-95 south of Richmond, a few more light snow showers and light flurries there. This is the lingering effects of what earlier was a pretty potent little piece of energy that was pivoting on through that did bring some minor accumulations out along I-95 and even a burst of some pretty moderate snow through south side, the peninsula, and northeastern North Carolina. But you can see as it's hit the coast, it's really weakened significantly, and that's the last piece of this storm system, and we're in for some sunny days ahead.
That's right. We're already seeing a little bit of sunshine out there. We'll take another look at some of these cameras. Again, this is over towards Nauticus right now. You can see some of the clouds breaking up. Still see some of that blowing snow. As we head out towards the Virginia Beach oceanfront, this is our DQ camera there at 17th and Atlantic. And you can see some folks out there. They've sort of made that path right there along the sidewalk, past the DQ up towards the boardwalk. And there were some people out there swimming this morning.
You
Yeah.
know how a lot of people do the cold plunges? I
Yeah.
think they're substituting that for the natural way, because water temperatures are what, in the 40s? So this is certainly a shock to the system. And it's just wild to see the snow all the way up to the edge of the water there. You rarely see that. Usually right along the waterfront, it's just a tad too warm for the snow, and we see it usually rain or melting on contact, but not this time.
Right, it will hit up the peninsula. This is Williamsburg. This is the camera courtesy of William and Mary, and right there in Williamsburg, and you can see the sidewalks there. They've got a path a little bit more than what we were seeing a little bit earlier. And yesterday, we saw some students out there who writing I Love William and Mary and some stuff out there. So we've been watching what's been going on up at William and
And
Mary.
they ended up with 6 to 8 inches of snow. So
Yeah, even
pretty
there.
good thump of snow for them.
Yeah, there's the Weston. So we head up the peninsula a little again. This is our LFCU camera there at Oyster Point. And again, you can see some of the clouds, but you can see some of the breaks in the clouds through the area as well.
And it's just going to be a very cold night, folks. So once all this clears on out, our clouds will clear out too. And I just want to leave you here before we wrap things up and just show you what it's really going to feel like out there. So right now we've got wind chills. Air temperatures are in the upper 20s to around 30. Breezes out of the northwest, 20, 25, maybe 30 gusts. So it's making it feel like it's around 20 or so. But as we go past sunset tonight, and we'll stop it at midnight, we've got those wind chill values. Actual air temperatures will be in the teens. Winds are not going to be like super blustery. We're going to have a 10 to 15 mile per hour wind, maybe some gusts to 20 to 25. But that's enough when you've got air temperatures that cold to make it feel close to half of what you're reading on the thermometer, right? Down in the low teens and single digits by midnight, but that's not our bottom. We get even colder by early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. It could feel as cold as 4 out in Elizabeth City, 5 in Edenton, 12 out at Norfolk, and 5 out at Chesapeake. Thanks to the fresh snowpack out there, just kind of adding an added layer of chill, not allowing any of the warmth to be absorbed by the ground, just absolutely cold. It's like walking out into a freezer.
Yeah, and again, the snow is going to be around for a while. We'll see some gradual melting into the weekend, but it's not until next week when we finally see temperatures above normal, which is 53 degrees. We have 60s in the 7-day forecast.
We sure do, and I think that's going to be a nice welcome change for a little bit. But, the long range, the pattern that we've been in here is almost repeating every 3 to 5 weeks.
Right.
Okay, so we had our first run-in with like a big surge of cold air and snow threat in January.
Yep.
Almost exactly a month later, this. What will happen about the middle of March?
Yeah, we get big snowfalls in March.
Yeah.
The Circus Blizzard was March 1st and 2nd, and that followed 12-inch snow in early February. I think it was February 6th, 7th.
Ooh.
So that, weather works in patterns.
It does.
And it repeats. And, we talk about how it balances out. West Coast is warm, East Coast is cold, vice versa. But weather works in patterns as well, and we see those patterns often.
So we'll see if a month from now we're talking about another snow threat or not. We'll see. But for now, we'll leave you with our weather impact alert that is continuing until tomorrow morning with the refreezing threat and then the wind chills that you just saw getting dangerously cold down into the single digits. Watch for spotty ice or black ice out there on roadways and sidewalks. Exercise caution. A lot of areas are already shut down for tomorrow, so no need to venture on out. Schools are closed. A lot of businesses will remain closed. So enjoy the long 5-day weekend.
Right, and you want to give people a little sneak peek of that 7-day forecast?
Okay, why not? Let's go ahead.
For all those who are
start
watching here, we've already got everything worked out for the 4 o'clock news, so just kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek there.
Yeah, so half a weather impact alert for tomorrow, and then temperatures this weekend will remain below average. 54 is normal. We're below that, but decently nice. Some icy spots still Saturday morning as you see the morning low in the 20s. Again, Sunday morning, but by Monday, right on through the rest of the week, temperatures, even overnight lows, will remain above freezing. So no more threats for ice next week. We've actually got a few chances of maybe an isolated shower or two as temperatures get up and above normal, and we're going to melt that snow away wholesale by the end of next week.
That's right, and we'll have a complete forecast and the complete coverage of all the snow that we've seen, the impacts across Hampton Roads coming up here in just about 35 minutes or so on 13 News Now at 4. We'll have coverage through 6:30 tonight, and then, of course, we'll have 13 News Now at 11. But again, got this weather impact alert that is going to continue through the remainder of the evening, the overnight, and into tomorrow morning for the cold temperatures, Tim.
All right, guys, stay warm and stay inside, or actually go outside and venture into the snow and enjoy it while it lasts.